HOA Karen's voice could curdle milk. She stood, a human barricade, bellowing at two teens who dared to skateboard in her park. The sisters, HOA and her equally insufferable sibling Lynn, had declared themselves the unofficial gatekeepers of this public space, their self-righteous fury a daily spectacle. Today, their target was Milo and Jade, two lanky 16-year-olds whose only crime was landing kickflips on a cracked concrete slab by the park's fountain. The air was thick with summer heat, and the park buzzed with its usual rhythm, kids laughing, joggers huffing, and squirrels darting through the grass. But Hoa's voice sliced through it all like a chainsaw. "You delinquents need a permit to do that nonsense here," she screeched, her jowls quivering as she loomed over Milo, who clutched his skateboard like a shield. Lynn, slightly leaner but no less venomous, stood at her side, arms crossed, nodding like a bobblehead. "This is a family park, not your personal stunt zone," she added, her voice dripping with condescension. Milo, with his faded hoodie and scuffed sneakers, tried to stay calm. "Ma'am, it's a public park. We're just skating." His voice was steady, but his eyes flicked nervously to Jade, who was filming the exchange on her phone. She'd seen enough Karen meltdowns online to know this could go viral. Hoa's face reddened, her floral muumuu straining as she stepped closer, her finger wagging an inch from Milo's nose. "Don't you ma'am me, you little punk. I pay taxes for this park, and I say you're out." The conflict wasn't new. For weeks, the HOA sisters had been terrorizing anyone who dared disrupt their vision of a perfect park. No skaters, no loud music, no riffraff. They'd scold picnickers for leaving crumbs, yell at joggers for running too fast, and once even called the cops on a kid flying a kite too close to the trees. The neighborhood was fed up, but no one had stood up to them. Not yet. Jade, with her dyed purple hair and a smirk that screamed defiance, wasn't backing down. "You don't own this park, lady, and there's no rule against skating here." She held up her phone, capturing Hoa's tirade in crisp 4K. The sisters didn't notice, too consumed by their righteous indignation. Lynn snatched a crumpled piece of paper from her Persia petition they'd been waving around to ban skateboarding and shoved it in Jade's face. "Read this. Hundreds agree with us. You're ruining our community." Milo glanced at the paper. "That's got, like, 10 signatures, and half of them are in the same handwriting." The sisters gasped in unison, as if he'd slapped them. Hoa's eyes narrowed to slits. "How dare you? I'll have you arrested for vandalism." She pointed at a faint scuff mark on the concrete, barely visible, as if it were a crime scene. Lynn chimed in. "And for disrespecting your elders." The commotion drew a small crowd. An elderly man named Mr. Torres, who often fed pigeons by the fountain, shook his head from a nearby bench. A jogger slowed her pace, earbuds dangling as she watched. The tension was palpable, like a storm about to break. Jade, still filming, muttered under her breath, "This is gold." But Milo's face tightened. He was used to being hassled. His family had scraped by in this neighborhood for years, and he'd dealt with worse than the HOA sisters. Still, their relentless entitlement stung. Then HOA crossed a line. She lunged for Milo's skateboard, her meaty hand snatching at the deck. "Give me that thing. It's evidence." Milo yanked it back, stumbling. "Yo, don't touch my stuff," he yelled, his cool breaking. Lynn, emboldened, grabbed for Jade's phone, shrieking, "Stop recording us, you little brat." Jade dodged, but Lynn's nails grazed her arm, leaving a faint red mark. The crowd gasped. Mr. Torres stood, his cane wobbling. "That's enough," he barked, his voice surprisingly firm. The sisters froze, but only for a moment. HOA doubled down, her voice hitting a new octave. "You're all in on this. You're all against us." She turned to the jogger, who was now dialing her phone. "What are you doing?" "Calling your gang." The jogger, unfazed, replied, "Nope. Calling the park ranger." Hoa's face blanched, but she didn't back off. She was too deep in her own narrative, where she and Lynn were the heroes saving the park from chaos. Minutes later, a park ranger named Officer Ruiz arrived, his boots crunching on the gravel path. He was a no-nonsense guy, known for handling disputes with a calm but firm hand. "What's going on here?" he asked, scanning the scene. HOA and Lynn launched into a simultaneous tirade, pointing at Milo and Jade, throwing around words like vandalism, disrespect, and public nuisance. Milo stood silent, his jaw tight. Jade, still filming, offered her phone. "Officer, I've got the whole thing recorded. They tried to take our stuff and scratch my arm." Ruiz watched the footage, his expression darkening. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement. Mr. Torres spoke up. "These two have been harassing folks for weeks. They scared my grandson off his bike last month." The jogger added, "They yelled at me for running on the grass. Said it was disrupting nature." The sisters' faces twisted in outrage, but Ruiz held up a hand. "Enough. You two step back." Hoa's bravado faltered, but she couldn't resist one last jab. "Officer, these kids are the problem. They need permits." Ruiz raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, there's no permit required for skateboarding in a public park. But there is a law against harassment and assault." He gestured to Jade's arm, where the scratch was still visible. Lynn sputtered, "Assault? We barely touched her." But the footage told a different story. Hoa's lunge, Lynn's grab, the sheer aggression of it all. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of relief and vindication. For too long, the HOA sisters had bullied their way through the park, wielding their entitlement like a weapon. But now, their actions had consequences. Ruiz radioed for backup, his voice calm but authoritative. "I'm detaining you both for harassment and attempted theft of property. You can explain yourselves at the station." Hoa's mouth fell open, her usual bluster gone. Lynn clutched her purse like a lifeline, her eyes darting for an escape. But there was none. The crowd watched, some whispering, others openly grinning, as Ruiz cuffed the sisters and led them to his patrol cart. Jade's phone captured every second, the footage destined for the internet's hall of Karen infamy. Milo, still holding his skateboard, let out a shaky laugh. Did that just happen? As the sisters were driven away, the park seemed to exhale. Mr. Torres shuffled over, patting Milo's shoulder. "You kids did good. Don't let folks like that push you around." Jade pocketed her phone, her smirk softening into a real smile. "Thanks, Mr. T. This one's going viral." The jogger gave them a thumbs up before resuming her run, and the squirrels went back to their scavenging. But the story didn't end there. The next day, Jade's video hit social media, racking up thousands of views. Comments poured in, calling out the sisters' behavior and praising the teens for standing their ground. The local news picked it up, framing it as a cautionary tale about entitlement and accountability. The HOA sisters, once self-appointed queens of the park, became a laughingstock. Their petition was mocked online, and their reign of terror fizzled out. Milo and Jade returned to the park, their skateboards clattering against the concrete. The fountain bubbled, kids laughed, and the squirrels darted as always. But something had shifted. The park felt freer, lighter, as if the sisters' absence had lifted a weight. Mr. Torres waved from his bench, a new sign propped beside him, "Skate in peace." The teens grinned, landing their tricks with a little extra flair. The HOA sisters faced charges harassment, attempted theft, and a hefty dose of public humiliation. Their days of bullying were over, their legacy reduced to a viral video and a lesson in karma. For Milo and Jade, it was a victory, not just for them, but for everyone who'd felt the sisters' wrath. The park was theirs again, a place for tricks, laughs, and freedom. Sometimes, the loudest voices fall the hardest. And sometimes, a couple of kids with skateboards and a phone can remind a community what justice looks like. The end.